In this video, we're going to cover the topic of working capital management, unit 3.5, which is the cash conversion cycle. Now, the definition of cash conversion cycle, short form CCC, is the length of time funds are tied up in working capital, or the length of time between paying for working capital and collecting cash from the sale of working capital. So basically, it tells you a complete cycle of the business, that in how many days does it complete. For example, if you have a manufacturing business and you sell clothes, so you will have to first purchase the raw materials. So it will start from the point when you purchase the raw materials. Then you will have to convert them into the finished clothes. Then those clothes will be sold out in the market. And once they are sold out in the market, then you will collect money from the customers. And then after that, you have collected money from the customers, you will pay back your suppliers. So this cash conversion cycle, how many days does it take for this cycle to complete in a business? This is what it is going to tell you. Now the formula is the inventory conversion period plus the average collection period minus the payables deferral period. Let's look at an example to understand this even more. So Great Fashion Inc. is a startup business that buys ladies' golf outfits for a manufacturer in China. The company's business plan calls for it to purchase 100,000 of merchandise at the start of each month and have the merchandise sold within 60 days. So the merchandise will take 60 days in order to sell them. This is your inventory conversion period. It's the number of days in which you're going to sell your inventory. The company will have 40 days to pay its suppliers. This is your payables deferral period. This is the number of days you require to pay your suppliers, and it will give its customers 60 days to pay for their purchases. This 60 represents the average collection period. This is the time that customers require to give you your payment. So if we calculate the cash conversion cycle for this business, it is going to be 80 days. Now, what does this 80 days signify? Let's look at a graph to understand this. Basically, you are going to receive the materials. Okay, let me just open. So you're going to receive your materials over here. Now, it will take time for you to convert those materials into finished goods and then sell them. So this whole procedure is going to take 60 days, and after 60 days, you will sell your finished goods. The average collection period, once you have sold your goods, you're not going to immediately get cash because you have allowed a credit of 60 days to your customers. So your customers are most likely going to pay you after 60 days. So that means the operating cycle of the business is 120 days. The inventory conversion period plus the average collection period gives you the operating cycle. So this is the operating cycle of the business. However, you are also allowed a deferral of 40 days, which means you do not have to pay your suppliers the moment you get inventory. You receive the inventory over here, but you're going to pay the inventory payment after 40 days. So this is a cash inflow for you because you do not have to pay for the materials immediately, and instead of that you have to pay after 40 days. So this is a credit for you. After 40 days, you're going to pay cash for the purchase material. So this is the time at which you will have to pay the cash for the purchase material, and this is the time it takes to collect cash. So in total, this cycle takes 80 days. This is your cash conversion cycle, and it is important because it tells you that you will get cash after 120 days, right? That this is what it's telling you, that you will get cash after 120 days, but you have to make payment to your suppliers after 40 days. That means for 80 days, you will have to take on a loan because you need to pay your suppliers after 40 days. So 40 days later, you have paid your suppliers and you're left with a loan for 80 days, which represents your cash conversion cycle. After 80 days, you will get your amount from the customers as well, and then you can pay off this loan. So the longer the cash conversion cycle, the higher will be these interest expenses that the business wants to avoid. Therefore, it is preferred if the cash conversion cycle of the business is low. Now moving ahead, let's do another example. First, let me erase whatever I have written. So clear all drawings. So now this is another question. GFI has been in business for several years and is now in a stable position, placing orders, making sales, obtaining collections, and making payments on a recurring basis. The following data were taken from its latest financial statement. So this is the data, and you're supposed to calculate the cash conversion cycle. First thing you will require to do so is the inventory conversion period, also called the day sales of inventory. The formula is inventory divided by cost of goods sold per day. So let's go back and see the inventory amount is 250,000 and the cost of goods sold is 1013889. So you can plug in the values. Okay, I have not plugged in the value for cost of goods sold, but you know what is the value, right? So you'll just place 1013889 over here. Cost of goods sold place. And this gives you a day sale of inventory of 90 days. So the business is going to take 90 days to sell their inventory. Then you have the average collection period, day sale outstanding. This is a formula, and you can go back and see that the receivables amount is this much and the sales amount provided to you is this much. So if you calculate it, your average collection period will come 90 days. So it means that once you have sold the finished product, after that the customers will give you payment in 90 days time. Then the last is the days payable outstanding. The formula is payables divided by purchases per day, payables divided by COGS and 365. Just plug in the values and you will get 54 days. So you have 54 days time to pay to your supplier. Based on this, you can calculate the cash conversion cycle. So 90 plus 90 minus 54, 126 days. That means that you will have to take on a loan for 126 days. Because in total, you are going to get money after 180 days, but you have to make payment to your suppliers in 54 days time. So for the 126 days, you will have to take on loan and bear the interest charges.